episode is all about literature.
In case you didn't know, literature refers to books, letters, essays, basically anything that's written down.
Charlotte, what's your favorite form of literature?
I love novels. There's nothing better than getting lost in a good story. Hey Jake, what's your favorite form of literature?
Well, my amazing, incredibly amusing jokes, of course. And speaking of jokes, about getting lost in stories.
Oh dear.
I started reading a book about mazes, but it was so good that I got lost in it. Hey, I should be a comedian.
I would reconsider.
Sorry, I just can't control my shelf. Get it? Like a bookshelf?
Yeah, very funny, Jake.
I knew deep down you appreciated my humor.
Well, anyway, let's get Sasha and Tyler over here to give us upcoming news.
Hello, St. Mark's. Welcome back to KSML.
Sasha, we aren't the anchors.
I know. It was going to be a late April Fool's prank.
Sasha, it was April 1st, 5 days ago. Let's focus on what's upcoming. That is our job.
You're right. So, tomorrow is Grandparents and Special Friends Day. Different grades will be performing different songs, and I'm especially excited that our 6th graders will be putting on a special Circle of Life instrumental.
Same. Also, did you know that our 4th graders just came back from Astro Camp? We are all eager to hear about all of your adventures.
Speaking of sleepaway field trips, we had so much fun in Washington. We saw waterfalls, visited rivers, hiked in pretty forests, and my favorite, canoeing. But we will elaborate more on those stories in another time.
Moving on, Thursday, which is tomorrow, is a half day, and that will be the beginning of spring break. If you're staying at home or vacationing, we wish you a relaxing week and a happy Easter.
School will be resuming on the 17th, and I'm sure the House Myers showrunners will let you know, but we have an author visit for grades 3 through 6 at the end of the month.
And at the start of May, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, so get those gifts, hugs, cards, and apples ready to show them just how grateful we are.
All right, we can't go too far ahead in the future, so we are going to wrap this part up for the week. Is it just me, or does it feel like this year has gone by so fast? I swear it was October yesterday.
I feel exactly the same. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next House Baldwin Showrunner segment.
Back to you, Jake and Charlotte.
As always, thank you so much, Sasha and Tyler, for our school-wide news.
Yeah, the showrunner segment is always very informative and surprisingly useful. Moving on, are you ready for another joke?
How about no? And why so many jokes all of a sudden? My ears feel like they're going to explode.
Well, actually, April is National Humor Month, so I have to be on my A game.
Well, that makes my new least favorite time of the year.
I think you meant to say favorite.
Whatever. Now onto a poetry segment with Sasha and Paige.
Thanks, guys. I'm Sasha.
And I'm Paige.
We're here to talk about poetry. Poetry is a form of literature and is an art style in which an author expresses feelings and ideas by using rhythmic qualities and distinctive style in a body of writing with no true format.
There is no true definition of poetry in general, but in my opinion, it just makes everything more interesting.
There are different types of poetry that have more direct rules, like for example, haikus, which contains 3 lines, 5 syllables in the first, 7 syllables in the second, and 5 syllables in the third.
There are so many different styles, and each one is incredibly unique.
Although poetry does come with its downsides, being largely considered one of the hardest creative writing styles to master.
Yeah, I really admire all the people who have dedicated their lives to poetry and literature in general.
Reading poetry is also important and is something that is entertaining and often makes you develop new ideas about the world around you.
Emily Dickinson and Rita Dove are 2 of the most famous and celebrated poets and are a great place to start if you want to get into poetry.
My personal favorite is Mary Oliver. We read a poem every day, and I'm going to be sharing this one called The Summer Day, written by her. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face.
Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Poetry usually requires more thought and concentration than other literature genres. So I find it helpful to be alone and in a comfy environment.
Yeah, it's good to experiment and find out what you like, not just for our poetry, but for any activity that requires critical thought. A personal favorite of mine is outside under shady trees or on top of large hills.
It's not for everyone, but writing poetry can also be super fun.
Yep, it won't be as good as Shakespeare or Emily Dickinson, and it can be difficult to make it sound right, but once you're done, you can really impress your friends or family, and it's a good relaxation.
Well, that's all for now.
Back to you.
Thanks, Sasha and Paige. I'll be sure to check out.
Ooh, that's a good one. Why did Shakespeare only write in pen? He couldn't decide to use to be or not to be. Hilarious. Am I right? I think I'm right.
Your jokes are so bad, I think they're killing all my brain cells at an alarming rate.
That's a good one, Charlotte. You should be the one telling the jokes.
Really? I was being serious.
You were really funny. Well, on to Wyatt and Braden for a segment about our EFS trip to Washington State.
Thanks, Charlotte and Jake. As you may know, last week the 6th grade took a 5-day trip to Olympic National Park in Washington.
We had so much fun canoeing, hiking up mountains, testing river water, playing games, learning about natural ecosystems, and appreciating the scenery.
The 4th grade just got home from a 3-day trip from Astro Camp as well. We hope you had a great time and would love to hear some highlights when we come back from spring break.
Sadly, the 5th grade trip to Catalina was canceled, but was rescheduled for sometime in May. We have had a great time in Washington, however.
The cold took some getting used to, and the food was, well, what you would expect, but it was amazing.
Yeah, one of my personal favorite things from the trip was this game called Camouflage, where you had 20 seconds to hide in the forest, and then one person in the middle would have to try and find them without moving out of a small circle created at the beginning of the game.
The catch, though, was that the hiders had to be able to see the seeker at all times. There were 3 rounds, and after the 3rd round, the seeker would put out their hand, and out of the remaining competitors, the first to touch the seeker's hand won.
It turned out to be super fun. We also observed lots of wildlife like bald eagles, deer, robins, ducks, and many others.
We were able to learn about a salmon's life cycle and why salmon are so important to the environment.
We even found a Mary Oliver poem in the woods while we were hiking.
A few more highlights were visiting the Elwha River, simulating floods and watersheds, sleeping in cabins, actually having a warm water to shower with, playing tons of card games, and countless more.
We gained tons of joyful and funny memories and can't wait until you're 6th graders and able to experience this trip yourself. Back to you, Charlotte and Jake.
Thanks, Braden and Wyatt. I totally agree. The trip was amazing.
Yeah, but it's good to be back.
How about one more joke before tripping on the street?
Jake, I get it. It's National Humor Month, but this is also too much.
Why did the...
No!
Maybe you don't have as much joke potential as I thought you did.
Trip, get over here and save me from this mess.
Hi, what's your name?
Sebastian,
Hi, Sebastian. What grade are you in?
2nd grade.
What's one book you've recently read that has inspired you?
Kirby Magnamania.
Cool. Hi, what's your name?
Jane.
What's one book you've recently read that has inspired you?
Harry Potter, and it has inspired me to be brave.
I've read the Spy School series, and it inspired me to write a book.
What's one book that you've recently read that has inspired you?
Magic Tree House, because it is very adventurous.
I love that book. Hi, what's your name?
Newton.
What's one book you've recently read that has inspired you?
The Dragon Warrior.
Hardy Boys. It was so good that I decided to keep reading more of it.
A book called Unbroken. It was about a World War II veteran. It really inspired me.
Cool. Hi, what's your name?
James.
Hi, James. What grade are you in?
3rd.
What's one book you've recently read that has inspired you?
Click here to start.
Cool. Hi, Miss Baldwin. I know you read a lot. What's one book you have recently read that has inspired you?
Well, we just read as a class a book called The Night Diary about the partition of India and Pakistan. And I really found Nisha, the narrator's struggle to be both admirable and inspiring.
That was a good book. Hi, Mr. Law. I know, like Miss Baldwin, you read a lot too. What's one book you have recently read that has inspired you?
Well, 5th grade this year read Out of My Mind. It was the first time I've ever read that book, and it was a really good book.
I remember that book.
Thanks, Trip. Those all seem really, really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to read them myself.
All right, let's introduce last time's raffle winner to spin that wheel and find out the next student of the week. Hi, Jordan. Welcome to KSML. So you're in 1st grade, right?
Yes.
Are you in Miss Gardner's class?
Yes.
Oh, I love Miss Gardner. I heard you're in the Spirit Squad. It was so exciting watching them perform at the talent show. Great way to open it. And what's your favorite snack from the Snack Shack?
Lay's.
Luckily for you, we have some right here.
One last question before we get started spinning the raffle. If you could be any job on KSML, what would it be?
The anchor.
I think you would make a great one.
Now it's time to spin that wheel. Congratulations to Juliet J in 1st grade for winning the raffle. Thank you so much for watching this KSML episode.
I hope you all have a great weekend and
See you next time!